Award shows have long played a role in promoting the next big stars in music, but sometimes those artists don't meet the expectations. In this video, we'll look at 8 artists award shows tried to push on us but failed. H.E.R. When H.E.R. emerged in the late 2010s, she was positioned as R&B's new savior. Her soulful, mysterious persona, originally keeping her identity hidden, made her stand out. She was a child prodigy, and the Grammys embraced her early, awarding her Best R&B Album and Best R&B Performance in 2019 for her self-titled compilation album. By 2021, she was winning Song of the Year for I Can't Breathe, and even took home an Oscar for Best Original Song for Fight For You. From an awards perspective, she was everywhere, often outshining bigger commercial stars. However, despite her critical success and award show dominance, she struggled to translate that into mainstream popularity. She never produced a Billboard Hot 100 smash hit, while her collaboration, Best Part with Daniel Caesar and Come Through with Chris Brown, peaked in the top 100, and her solo songs Slide and Damage made it to the top 50. They didn't elevate her to household name status. Her debut full-length studio album Back of My Mind came in 2021 and debuted at number 6 on the Billboard 200. But quickly faded, lacking the commercial punch needed to sustain the hype, only being certified gold in the US. Award shows continued to push her into the spotlight, even giving her major performance slots like the Super Bowl pre-show and the Grammy stage multiple times. But outside of those environments, she never built a big audience comparable to contemporaries like SZA and Summer Walker. The industry seemed convinced that she would be the new R&B superstar, but fans never chose her as that. She is undoubtedly a multi-talented artist, but her case is a clear example of how award show promotion, when it's overdone, can turn people off. She has been nominated for Album of the Year 3 times, even though she only released 1 studio album, which is crazy. She was given every opportunity to succeed on the biggest stages, but the general public didn't latch on, proving that you can't really manufacture stardom. Tori Kelly. Tori Kelly's story is another example of an artist that the Grammys and award shows desperately wanted to launch into superstardom. After gaining attention on YouTube and American Idol, she signed with Capitol Records and released her debut album Unbreakable Smile in 2015. The album was decently successful, peaking at number 2 on the Billboard 200 and producing the hit single Nobody Love. However, it was her Best New Artist Grammy nomination in 2016 that truly thrust her into the spotlight, with the Academy pushing her as a rising star. Despite the nomination and great performances at award shows, Tori struggled to achieve true mainstream breakthrough. Even if she signed with Scooter Braun, the manager that helped Justin Bieber become a superstar, it just didn't quite happen. Her sophomore album Hiding Place came in 2018 and she pivoted into gospel music, which earned her 2 Grammys for Best Gospel Album and Best Gospel Performance. While these wins highlighted her vocal talent, they also boxed her into a niche market. By the time she returned to pop, with Inspired by True Events in 2019 and Tori in 2023, her momentum had fizzled out. None of the projects brought her back to the mainstream conversation. Award shows repeatedly positioned Tori Kelly as a powerhouse vocalist, meant to carry the tradition of artists like Mariah Carey and Christina Aguilera, but in reality, her music never connected. She became more known for tributes than any of her songs. Without a defining single to anchor her career, she never got to become a pop star. Chloe and Halle. Chloe and Halle, the sister duo discovered by Beyonce and signed to her Parkwood Entertainment label, were being hyped up early on as the future of R&B. Their debut studio album The Kids Are Alright in 2018 earned them recognition from the Recording Academy, but it was their second effort, Ungodly Hour in 2020, that truly put them on the map. The project earned them 3 Grammy nominations, including Best Progressive R&B Album. The duo also performed at major award shows, with outlets like the Grammys and MTV pushing them as the next superstars. Despite this critical acclaim, they struggled to translate their award show push into mainstream commercial dominance. Ungodly Hour peaked at just number 16 on the Billboard 200, and while singles like Do It gained some traction, they never cracked the top 40 of the Billboard Hot 100. The duo's performances at award shows were some of the best of the pandemic era, but it didn't connect with the pop audience. After that, the sisters went on their solo journey. Halle landed the role in Disney's The Little Mermaid, while Chloe pursued a solo career, releasing her debut solo album In Pieces in 2023. Unfortunately, Chloe's record underperformed commercially and did not live up to expectations. Even as solo artists, Chloe and Halle haven't really reached the level many expected when they first broke through. Austin Mahone. Austin Mahone emerged in the early 2010s as one of the first major pop stars born out of the YouTube era. With his boyish looks, the industry quickly latched onto him as a potential heir to Justin Bieber's throne. Award shows and media outlets heavily promoted him, with early nods from the MTV Video Music Awards. In 2013, he even took home the MTV Artist to Watch Award, a category designed to promote new artists. For a brief moment, he was marketed as the next big teen idol. Despite this early push, his momentum fizzled out quickly. His debut singles What About Love and Say Something achieved moderate chart success, but failed to establish him as a long-term star. Award shows continued to give him exposure, often booking him for red carpets and pre-show performances, but the music couldn't quite connect with a wide audience. The anticipated debut album never arrived during his peak, making it harder for him to capitalize on the visibility award shows gave him. By the mid-2010s, he was overshadowed by other rising stars who brought more distinct sounds and stronger branding, like Shawn Mendes and Charlie Puth. Even though he maintained a fan base and continued to release music independently, he never recaptured the mainstream spotlight he once seemed destined for. Award shows that once treated him as the next Bieber eventually moved on. He was given the stages, the spotlights, and the awards, but without a signature hit and a well-timed album. The moment passed too quickly. Today, he is remembered more for what he was supposed to be, rather than what he actually achieved. Hayley Kiyoko. Hayley Kiyoko emerged in the mid-2010s as a multifaceted performer. First known from the Disney Channel and the girl group The Stunners, she tried to become a solo star. Her breakthrough came with her debut album Expectations in 2018, which featured her standout single Curious. Around the same time, she began to earn the nickname Lesbian Jesus from fans because she talked about her identity in her music. Award shows quickly picked up on her momentum, offering her slots on the MTV VMAs and placing her in the Best New Artist conversations. She won the Push Artist of the Year award in 2018 at the award show. Despite the visibility, Hayley's career never reached the commercial heights the award show push suggested. While she cultivated a niche fan base, her streaming numbers paled in comparison to other rising stars of that era, like Billie Eilish or Dua Lipa. Her second album, Panorama in 2022, received modest attention, but without a breakout hit, it couldn't even chart on the Billboard 200. The industry seemed to bet on Hayley as a mainstream superstar, but she remained an underground artist. Her wins and nominations were more symbolic, recognizing her as a voice for underrepresented communities. While that was important, it meant that her recognition outpaced her chart success. Unlike other VMA winners, she never translated that exposure into Billboard Hot 100 dominance. Macy Gray. Macy Gray's story is a fascinating case of early success, followed by an award show push that fizzled out. Macy debuted in 1999 with her album How Is Life, which included the massive hit I Try. The song earned her a Grammy Award for Best Female Pop Vocal Performance in 2001 and made her a household name overnight. Award shows framed her as a unique, fresh voice. The Grammy win, in addition to her VMA win for Best New Artist, suggested that she was destined for long-term superstardom. However, after that early peak, Macy struggled to replicate the success of I Try. Her next albums, The Id in 2001 and The Trouble with Being Myself in 2003, failed to make a major commercial impact. Award shows continued to give her nominations in the early 2000s, but there was a disconnect between recognition and audience reception. The industry was eager to position her as a generational artist, but she couldn't generate another crossover hit that could sustain her momentum. By the mid-2000s, she disappeared from the spotlight. Part of Macy's struggle came from timing. She rose during a transitional era in pop and R&B, competing with powerhouse voices like Alicia Keys, Beyonce, and Mary J. Blige, all of whom were delivering consistent commercial and critical success. Her style was unique and harder to market to a broad audience. Award shows had banked on her becoming a long-term force, but in hindsight, she wasn't really a typical superstar. While she remains a respected figure in music, the Grammy push in the early 2000s framed her as a superstar she never quite became. Samara Joy. Samara Joy's story is very different, but in its own way, it mirrors how award shows can push artists into the spotlight they didn't really deserve. A gifted jazz vocalist with a smooth, timeless sound, she became an industry darling in the early 2020s. In 2023, she stunned the music world by winning Best New Artist at the Grammys, one of the biggest categories at the award show, over artists like Lotto and Anita. With that victory, she joined the ranks of megastars like Adele and Billie Eilish, whose Best New Artist wins propelled them to mainstream dominance. But her sound was not mainstream. Jazz, while respected and historically significant, is not a genre that dominates the streaming era. The Grammys' choice to crown her felt like a statement. It reminds me of when they gave the Best New Artist to Esperanza Spalding over artists like Justin Bieber and Drake. While critics liked her talent, the average listener didn't rush to Spotify or Apple Music to stream her albums. Despite the massive visibility boost, her commercial impact remained relatively muted, with her biggest album Linger a While only managing to peak at number 158 on the Billboard 200. The aftermath of her Grammy win showed the limits of award show hype when it isn't matched by audience demand. While she received great reviews and gained some new listeners, she never cracked the mainstream music conversation outside of niche jazz circles. The Grammys placed her on the same pedestal as breakout pop stars, but the general public wasn't ready or interested in her. The band Perry. The band Perry emerged in the late 2000s as one of country music's most promising acts. A trio of siblings, they broke through with their 2010 self-titled debut album, which produced the smash single If I Die Young. The song topped the Billboard Hot Country Songs chart, went on to sell over 6 million copies in the US, making it one of the most successful country singles of that decade. Award shows quickly jumped on the hype. The band Perry won the Best New Artist at the 2011 ACM Awards and took home a Grammy in 2012. At that moment, they looked like crossover stars. Their sophomore album Pioneer came in 2013 and initially kept the momentum alive, with hits like Better Dig 2 climbing country charts and establishing the group as staples in award show performances. They were repeatedly booked at the CMAs, SEMs, and even Grammys, often positioned alongside established stars. The industry clearly wanted them to be the bridge between Nashville tradition and mainstream pop appeal, much like Lady Antebellum before them. However, cracks began to show when their next single struggled to replicate their breakout success. In a controversial career pivot, the band attempted to reinvent themselves as pop artists. With the release of singles like Live Forever in 2015, the move alienated their audience while failing to win over pop listeners. Their delayed third album was cancelled, and by the late 2010s, the trio had disappeared from the spotlight. Despite a promising start fueled by award show momentum, the band Perry couldn't maintain their popularity. Which artists award shows pushed on us and failed did I miss? Tell me in the comments below.